Good evening. Thanks a lot for staying with us here at CNN News 18. You're watching Nation at 5 with me, Ridhima Bhatnagar. We're beginning this broadcast with some inside details of Pakistan's exit from the FATF's grey list. Now, as Pakistan has exited the FATF's grey list, CNN News 18 gets you the inside details of how it was Western aid which actually helped Pakistan pull off the move, but demands continue for constant monitoring of terror activities inside Pakistan. Now, top sources have told CNN News 18 this, that the decision was initiated by the United States, the United Kingdom and other nations. We're also now understanding that there was a positive recommendation after the physical inspection that took place in Pakistan. Now, what is India wanting and demanding at this point? India wants a reporting mechanism institutionalized. India has also demanded a continuous monitoring process. As far as the European Union is concerned, they've demanded regular action reports from Pakistan. So what does this then mean for Pakistan? Let me bring in our guests as well. We have former diplomat G. Parthasarathi now joining us on the broadcast. Sir, always a pleasure speaking to you. How do you see the details that we are putting out? First, let's talk about on Pakistan's optics of it finally exiting the FATF list.
Look, Pakistan desperately wanted to get out of the Financial Action Task Force because as long as they did that, it was in that list. It had a greater propensity of getting into trouble for helping for aiding terrorism. The one person who have helped them out are the Chinese. The Americans and the Europeans have gone along, and it started really with the issue of Hafiz Said's son, whom when it was obvious his links with the Lashkar-e-Taiba, which is an international terrorist organization. When it was discovered, it is the Chinese which came to Pakistan's rescue. Now, I think there is a tendency in India to believe that China is, apart from the border, everything is good with them. That is rubbish. The Chinese policy is low-cost containment of India. Let's understand that. Everything from Pakistan's missiles to its nuclear weapons program, now to its fighter aircraft, everything is Chinese. So there is really Pakistan totally dependent on them, and the Chinese merrily helping them along. If they can help them in making nuclear weapons, why not terrorism?
So the Chinese policy is to contain. Correct. I'll talk about the bids that have been blocked by China in just a bit. But just as far as this entire exit is concerned, as you rightly pointed out, they've been desperately wanting to get itself off that list. But what about the help that is actually aided Pakistan get off this list, the Western aid that is ensured that this happens? How do you see that?
You see, the West has a dual policy. Take President Biden. One day he says something highly abusive of Pakistan. The other day he gives them $450 million of money for arms and equipment. So by way of aid. So I think you have to bear in mind that there is a certain duality. One reason why they go along with us in terrorism is because some of these groups start operating with Pakistani populations in those countries. So there is an inclination on the West on this issue where there is sufficient evidence to go along with us. And the group itself is placed in a terrorist list, but it prevents that from being universally applicable. Right now, we've succeeded with the US, we've succeeded with the EU, we've succeeded with our neighbors. But China and others who are Pakistani friends, they will not agree. So you will not get a universal agreement on declaring individuals and organizations as terrorists.
Sure.
But you can do it singularly with important countries where you know these people visit. You may not be able to get it in many of the Islamic countries, but now in countries like UAE, I'm certain we can pursue it. So the earlier thing of the West being as tough with Pakistan is somewhat not good after
Yeah,
the
it's
Biden
wishy-washy. But I'll just...
announcement of $450 million.
True. True. Sir, I'll just request you to stay on with us. We also have former director of the National Security Council Secretariat, Dr. Tara, also now joining us on the broadcast. Tara, good to have you on the broadcast with us. I agree with the points that are being made by G. Parthasarathi, but my larger issue is, yes, okay, they're off the list. This is what they've wanted. But what about the ground root issues, which is as far as terror financing is concerned? How do you ensure that you have a mechanism put in place to monitor that these activities don't take place any time in the future?
Well, I don't suppose there are any now. Once they're off, the main thing is that they will now get access to international finance. One. Number two is that they get exposed, the international financial system is now open to them. You see, so that in itself is a danger. But that is the whole point of blacklisting or grey listing, is to prevent damage to the international financial institutions, because there's a lot of shady dealings going on. If you look at the report from FATF, you'll find that they are listing all white-collar crimes, so to speak, and in terms of, other kinds of money laundering activities. But they have not listed what are the terror activities, terror financing, which is still going on.
Correct.
So it seems to me that there is a kind of a screen shading what these people are actually up to, because we know the Hawala channels, all that is continuing. So it's your own system is then exposed to this. That is the danger. The whole banking system is exposed to the kind of drug money, for instance, which will be laundered for the use of terrorist activities. Drug money, the money from Afghanistan, the huge millions of dollars, a lot of it is banked in Pakistan. How can you ignore that? I just don't understand how this is even thought of by the international financial system.
The same question that I was asking G. Parthasarathi, that what is the benefit that the West is getting with Pakistan getting off this grey list? Why have they gone forward and aided this exit?
That's a question I've been asking myself for the last 58 years, I think. The West have, after all, let's face it, Pakistan was a creation of the British Empire. It was a member of military groupings along with the United States for years. And therefore, there is a certain empathy for Pakistan in these countries. And the only things they will act is where it affects them. And therefore, I agree with the NSA official that yes, it is not a perfect system. Yes, there are things which are going to cause us problems.
Sure.
But the reality of the world today is, as I said, when Biden goes public on one hand and then dishes out $450 million on the other, that is a change. Now, we can diplomatically move hard and talk against it. That certainly has to continue. The pressure has to continue. But we have to also face the reality that right now, Pakistani weapons are flowing into Ukraine.
Correct.
In Royal Air Force British aircraft. So the Pakistanis know precisely how to make themselves useful.
Yeah.
As far as China is concerned, I said Pakistan is its main instrument for low-cost containment of India. We'll have to live with it. But as I said, the best we can go with is to see that they move on individuals and groupings to keep bilaterally clear with the US and Europe.
But even those individuals and groupings actually seems to be facing a lot of roadblocks. And the reason that I'm saying this is, I'll just request both our guests to stay on with us. We also want to shift our focus to the other big story that we're tracking this evening, which is about China putting a hold on a proposal by India and the United States at the United Nations to blacklist Pakistan-based terrorist Hafiz Tala Saeed, the son of Lashkar Chief Hafiz Saeed. This is the second such move to block anti-terror campaigns just in the last 2 days. Now, Hafiz Tala Saeed is the central leader of the dreaded terrorist coup, Lashkar, and the son of the 26/11 Mumbai terror attacks mastermind, Hafiz Saeed. In April this year, he was declared a terrorist by the Indian government. Remember, this is the 5th time in the last 4 months that China has blocked efforts to blacklist Pakistan-based terrorists. So how is China really shielding terror? And what are the instances that we've seen just in the recent times? Let's break down all those details. As I pointed out, this is something that we've seen for the fifth time just in the last 4 months. So let's begin with the most recent one, October 2022. Hafiz Tala Saeed, Lashkar Taiba terrorist, son of 2611 attack mastermind Hafiz Saeed. Let's talk to you about the other details as well and the instances that we're picking out. Shahid Mahmood, again blacklisted, blocked by China once again a Lashkar terrorist, part of 2611 attack mastermind terror group. Let's bring you the other names as well. Abdul Rauf Asgar, blacklisting, again blocked by China, the deputy chief of Jaish-e-Mohammed involved in the 2019 Pulwama attack. But that's not all. Look at the next name that we're picking up. In September 2022, you had the blocking of Sajid Mir also being resisted by China. Again, a Lashkar terrorist involved in 2611 Mumbai attack. Then in June 2022, you have Abdul Rahman Maki, again a Lashkar terrorist, mastermind of the 2611 Mumbai attack. Our guests continue to be with us. G. Parthasharthi, how do you see these instances that we've just put out? We've seen, I think, 2 in the last 2 days and about the 5th one in the last 4 months. Are we surprised?
I am not surprised. Having dealt with these guys in Pakistan and in India, I am not surprised at all. Look, you should understand, groups like the Lashkar more so and the Jaish less have a wide, the Ahle Hadith religious faction across Pakistan empathizes with the Lashkar. Less so, as I said, with the Jaish more Wahhabi. But both these have been responsible for terrorist attacks. Both of these have faced international sanctions before. And most importantly, I think countries which matter, that is where we have to practice, follow, because that would be, I think Saudi Arabia and many of the Arab countries will agree with us. So it's now more a question of detailed diplomacy and dealing with it country by country. I know it's not perfect. Sure. I know we could have got a much better deal. But I go back to a very fundamental thing, and that everyone ignores. Pakistan has no power to make nuclear weapons or even to have screwdrivers made. But they get it from China. They get everything they want from China. And there is a disinclination on our part to call a spade when it comes to the Chinese assistance to Pakistan in all these areas. I think that is something we have to focus more on, about that relationship. Otherwise, it is treated like anything else.
Dr. Tara, I want to understand.
Terrorism, in an ultimate analysis, I'll tell you, we have ways of putting huge similar pressure on Pakistan. And the fact of the matter is, hard policy decisions will have to be taken. I think some of them are in place to put equal pressure on Pakistan.
That's exactly what I wanted to discuss. And I'll come to that in just a bit in terms of how India should respond. But Dr. Tara, what I'm essentially trying to understand is why are we seeing both these nations piggybacking on each other? Is it just the impact of if you don't piggyback on each other, what it'll have on the CPEC? Is it just that?
Not really. You know, one former defector from China said, she recently, she said, China is the person every country hates. So the Pakistan is the only friend China has. So you use them for every single thing. They use each other for whatever they can on the world stage. Because Pakistan has, of course, Pakistan sort of has quote unquote friends everywhere, but China doesn't. But having said that, this is going to be a little expensive for Pakistan, because remember, you're using up diplomatic capital with Beijing to say that, please block this, so this is, like you said, now this is the 5th time.
Yeah.
And this is the son of terrorism, everybody knows. So it's going to get very expensive for Pakistan. And there's one thing which we should think of, in 2020, I think the US sort of withdrew the designation of a Chinese terrorist group, which China wanted them, designated the East Turkestan Islamic Movement. The US actually withdrew that designation. Now, I don't see why we shouldn't do that if necessary. I don't know, to find a list of who we've designated and who we've not on any Indian website is the most difficult thing. But I'm assuming that we are, as a blanket thing, following the UN blocking system.
Yeah.
Whatever the UN blocks, we follow because that's part of international law. But you can consider this. Why not stop delisting the ETI?
G. Parthasarathi, now going back to the point that you were making earlier, if these proposals continue to be blocked by China, if these bids continue to be blocked by China, what is the kind of action that India should be responding with? What is those hard actions or policy decisions that need to be put in place?
Who was that question addressed
Are
to?
you asking?
Yes, G. Parthasarathi, sorry.
Hello?
Yes, sir, that question's for you. Okay, I think we seem to be having an audio issue with G. Parthasarathi, but Dr. Tara, if you'd like to take that question.
What can we do in the sense? I mean, see, we have to realize one thing. The US prioritization of terrorism as a top foreign policy agenda is no longer there. It was there earlier. It is now it's all about China. It's all about Russia. It's all about Ukraine. So that kind of prioritizing, regardless of the excellent efforts by our ambassador, our permanent representative to the UN, Ruchira Gambhir, she has really brought this out of the sheer double-facedness involved in this designation. I'm beginning to wonder what the UN is about. I mean, what are these people doing? So this kind of sanctioning is a very powerful instrument. Let's not forget that. Even if you say the UN, talks a lot, once you have a sanction process and a designation process, it is a pretty powerful tool. So if China continues to do this, it is, like I said earlier, it is showing itself up on the international stage as a country that says okay to terrorism. And if it's okay with that, well, Beijing must be extremely foolish to do this. I can't understand. At the same time, we have, I think, it is one of our largest trading partners. So it doesn't give you a lot of wiggle room. But if terrorism rises again in Pakistan, not if, it is already rising.
Sure.
It is Chinese nationals there who's going to face the brunt. Let's face that, as well as Chinese neighboring states in Xinjiang.
Okay. Unfortunately, I'll have to leave the conversation there. G. Parthasarathi and Dr. Tara, always a pleasure speaking to both of you. We have to shift our focus to some other breaking developments now coming in. Now, amid the turmoil in the Conservative government in Britain, British Prime Minister Liz Truss is currently meeting Sir Graham Brady, the chairman of the 1922 committee, which is responsible for establishing whether a Conservative leader has the confidence of the party or not. My colleague Sanjay Suri now joining us live on the broadcast. Sanjay, what really is happening? You already have the resignation of one minister just about 24 hours ago, and now this meeting. How should we read this?
Well, the buzz really is, and it's serious buzz, that Liz Truss may resign later in the day. This meeting with the chairman of the 1922 committee, which is the committee that runs the parliamentary affairs of the Conservative Party, is very significant, and it is a second such. She had met this chairman, Sir Graham Brady, only on Friday. In fact, she did not even attend Parliament. She was due to answer questions. She sent Penny Mordaunt as substitute. She was missing, and at that time, no explanation was given. She was missing mysteriously. It turned out that she was with Sir Graham Brady. He is the one who conducted the elections in the Conservative Party after Boris Johnson left. So if there is a change, it is he who will be instrumental in effecting such a change. So now, in the face of all these demands, and more of her own MPs are demanding that she go, now for her to go and meet Sir Graham Brady again in the space of just a few days is quite a telling sign. And I think we should be looking out for a resignation followed by a substitution.
Okay. Sanjay, and look at how soon all of this has happened. She's been in power in just about a month. We all know what is happening in the United Kingdom. A very severe economic crisis. Inflation continues to be record high. Rationalization of taxes continues to be a demand as far as the citizens is concerned. And now the losing support of the Tories. Is there a substitute name that is already doing the rounds?
Rishi Sunak, of course, is a name doing the rounds. Boris Johnson himself is being mentioned. Jeremy Hunt is being mentioned, the new Chancellor of the Exchequer. And Theresa Coffey, who is the Deputy Prime Minister, is also now at 10 Downing Street. So this is going to be worked out, certainly at one level and by Downing Street, who they want to appoint as a substitute. But that will not necessarily be the final word. It will be what Conservative MPs want. Whether there is an agreement by consensus or we go back into yet another vote, though I doubt we will see that kind of prolonged campaigning yet again. Nobody has the time or the stamina for it. But a lot of people are jostling now for that position, and we will have a result to that perhaps later today.
Okay, Sanjay, we leave the conversation there. Keep a close eye on all those developments for us. We're slipping into a very short break. We're coming back with lots more.